All right, here in this video, we're going to be looking at ink and most importantly, looking at Pantone and how to make Pantones, how to convert Pantones from spot to process. But what I want to look at first is the logo styles. And what we're doing here is we're taking the exact same logo, but we're just applying different ink to it and applying it in different ways. So let's start from the top here. So here I have a one color, which is monotone, a one color logo, and it happens to be using the ink black. Now I didn't do anything special with this ink. This is the normal ink you'd get in your swatch panel by default. Those are the presets. It's just a true black, which if I double click on it, brings up the swatch options and I can see it is 100% K, no cyan, no magenta, no yellow. And what I can do also with that, I can make the whole logo just one black color, or I can also show values by using tint, or I could also do it using opacity. But ideally, I could use tint to have different values. I'm using the same ink. So this is still considered a one color logo, a one color job, but I am actually using one ink, but I'm using different opacities or different amounts of that ink. What would happen is if, let's say I take this piece here and I'm gonna go to my my color and it brings up the CMYK value. Because this is only black, I could actually bring down the value of K, or how much of black is being used. And what I'm actually doing, I'm not really, adding white to it. What I'm doing is taking away some of the ink and letting the paper show through. That's actually what's happening there. So I can bring it up to whatever amount I want. That's how we use it with black. So I have the same one color. Both of these are one color, but one of them allows me to use different amounts of tint or less ink. But now if I wanted to, I could show you another option here. Instead of just lowering the amount of ink, I could actually lower the amount of opacity. So say I took a few of these shapes, and what I'm going to do is go to my transparency. I'm going to lower the opacity to say 70%. So it's very similar what I've done, but there is a difference. If I look at these, they are different. This is a 70% lower tint. This is a 70% opacity. So you see how this is actually darker, this is lighter. So we have to be careful with that. I suggest using the tint and actually bringing down the amount of ink and not just lowering the opacity. You can do this, of course, but sometimes we're gonna get different end results if we do print. But this is 100% saying, yeah, this is 70% ink, and that's actually kind of your better way of doing that. But let's move on. We can also do a one color monotone, so one color. I use this blue. But what I've done with this blue is a Pantone color. Now I set up this Pantone in my swatch panel a while ago. So this Pantone is here, but it's still considered a one color because it only uses one color. And just as I mentioned above, this logo is also one color because I'm using a tint. Now this tint looks a little bit different. So if I click on a color and I'm in the color panel, this big T shows up, and now I could actually show less ink or add more ink. Bringing it all the way down to white, because when you tint something, you're actually adding white. But in the world of print, when you tint something, you're actually showing the paper beneath it. So once again, if I lower the tint, I'm not really adding white to the ink. I'm actually just taking away some of the blue, so the paper underneath shows through more. So that's how we tint in Illustrator. But once again, both logos are still one color, but just showing different values of that blue. And it is a Pantone color. It's not just a CMYK process color, it's a Pantone color. Now here, this is a two color job. So I have the blue and I have the black. Or here I have the gray, but ideally it's the black that is brought down to 70% of that black. So two color job, it's called a duotone. I have one CMYK color. So which one is the CMYK? Well, we know that this blue one is the Pantone color. So the CMYK color obviously is the black, which I can see CMYK. That is the black color. So all the blue areas are the Pantone and all the gray areas or black areas are the CMYK. So I have one CMYK color and one Pantone. So this is considered a 5-color job because I'm using CMYK plus one pre-mixed ink, which is a Pantone. So this is 5 colors. I want to say that I'm not too concerned with the black, changing or being a little darker, a little lighter, but I definitely need that blue to be the exact blue that I see, which is what Pantone does for us. If I move on, this is still considered 2 colors, duotone. I see my blue and my black. But this time, instead of there being a CMYK color, I'm actually using a black Pantone. In Pantone, there are black colors. I'm using a black 7 coated. So this is a 70% coated, but obviously you see it's much darker. Maybe that's just how it shows up on my screen, but if I looked at my Pantone swatch book, I'll know exactly what this color looks like. So it's still a 2-color job, a duotone, just like the above. However, both of these colors, the black and the blue, are both Pantone colors that I chose from my swatch book. I brought it into Illustrator, and now I apply those colors to that logo. Moving on, same idea. Now instead of the black, I'm introducing a green, and now once again, it's a 2-color job. This is a 2-color logo. It is a duotone, that's what we consider 2 colors, and it's 2 Pantones again. So the green, we could also see is a Pantone color. There it is right here. I double click on it and I see, yes, it's a Pantone 2925C. It's a spot color, and that's it. I have now a 2 Pantone job, blue and green. Now this one I converted, it's a full color, so I have 1 CMYK. Which one's the CMYK? Well, I must have converted the green and to become a process color, CMYK. So that's what process color means, CMYK. I'm using the 4-color process, CMYK. It's a process color. And I'm using 1 Pantone. I still kept my blue as the Pantone, which is totally fine. And just to show you, the one reason I know it's a Pantone, see that little spot that shows up, the little dot? That means it's a spot color. It's not a process color. It's a spot color. If it has a dot, that means exactly that. It's a spot color. If it does not have a dot, that means it's a process color. It is a 4-color job, CMYK. So this, once again, is considered a 5-color job, just like the one above here, because I'm using 1 CMYK, which is the green, and 1 Pantone, which is the blue. So that's a 5-color job, 1 CMYK and 1 Pantone. So lastly, I have full color, all CMYK. So this means I've converted all Pantones to CMYK, to process colors. So this logo would be made up of CMYK, even the blues and the green. So if I look at the green, yep, I see it does not have a dot on it. It's a process color. If I click on the blue, what I've also done, it is not a Pantone color. It's not a spot color. It is just a normal CMYK. So both of these are CMYK. But what I've also done here, I've also added a little shadow under here, kind of added a little depth. But even these areas here, they're gradients, they are also considered to be CMYK. You're going to add a little bit of black to that area. So therefore, I have a CMYK, and I can also still represent those little shaded areas with CMYK. So all these logos are more or less the exact same logo, but they just have different ink options on them. I have monotones, duotones, I have full color. I can even do a tritone, but this particular brand didn't have 3 colors. But this is how we could break it up, and we could add value by adding tints, and that's how we do that. Now let's move over to how we actually create spot colors or add Pantone to Illustrator. It's actually really simple. Not too long ago, we actually had every single Pantone swatch in Illustrator, but they now have removed that, but that's okay. We can still show Pantone colors in Illustrator without this, and actually InDesign as well. It doesn't really matter. So what I can do here, I have the swatch. What I need to do, I'm going to go through this. I'm going to find a Pantone book, which I actually have right in front of me. I'm going to create a new swatch in the swatch panel. So how do we do that? I go to my swatch panel and I click on the plus sign, or I can click on the drop down and go to new swatch. I'm just going to click on the plus sign here. And what I can do, I'm actually in my swatch panel here. It says type in the CMYK value of the swatch I chose. So I look at my swatch book and I found this lovely green, and it's 3405C. So I want to know for sure that this is a Pantone color, that this is what it's representing, that specific color. Now what I need to do for the color type, I need to say it's a spot color, not a process color. A Pantone color is a spot color. It's a pre-mixed ink that formulates the color I want. Now I can use whichever mode I want. I'm going to stick with CMYK because the swatch book actually has RGB values and CMYK values. It even has hexadecimal values. But to be on the safe side, I'm going to use my CMYK, and this one happens to be a 90, a 0, and a 70, and a 0 again. There's my green. And I'm just going to press OK. Now what happens, I see it here, and I see it here. There's my color. I see that it is a global color. If I double click on it again, I see the global color was selected automatically, which is great, which is what I want. So that white triangle suggests it's a global color. And the little dot suggests it's a spot color. Watch, I'm going to double click again. I'm going to convert this to a process color. And watch, that dot disappears. Let me show you that again, a little close up. The dot has disappeared because now I'm saying it's a process color. If I add it back, the spot color, it gets added again. It's saying it's a spot color. It's a pre-mixed ink. Say, okay, it's not made up of CMYK. It's actually a spot pre-mixed ink. So now what I can do is, there it is. I have my Pantone color. Now, you have to understand about Pantone is that what I see here is not exactly what is on the book. So it's going to look a little bit differently. You can literally hold up your swatch book right to the monitor and put them side by side, and it will look different. What you need to understand is this is just a representation of what that color looks like. The real true color is in the swatch book of what I chose. So I could play with this color, that's great, but I have to understand this is just a representation of that color and it's not 100% correct. The proper 100% correct color we're looking for is on the swatch booklet, and that's it. So now I've done, that's it. I've made it a spot color. Yeah, it's already automatically was global, and there is my Pantone color that I've added to Illustrator. Now, what if I want to do the opposite? I want to create a CMYK swatch from that. So I'm just going to duplicate the swatch. And I kind of already did it for you. I'm going to go here. I'm going to duplicate the swatch. So I'm just going to go to my drop down and duplicate the swatch. There it is right there, because I want one swatch that is a spot color. It's going to remain a spot color. And I want another swatch that is going to be the opposite. So I'm just going to double click on that. And I'm just going to say process color. There it is. The dot is gone. It's still a global color, which I love. I want that. And I press OK. That is it. So now I have a Pantone color. It's set up right here. I see it has a little dot on it. That's a spot color. And I've also now converted that color into a CMYK 4-color process color. Just that's all I had to do. Let's click on the word process. And now it is considered CMYK, where if I double click on the Pantone or the spot color, it still shows me the CMYK values, but it is considered a, oh, I must have removed that, P3405C. P stands for Pantone, 3405 is the code for the color, and C stands for coded. There are two books, uncoded and coded. If this was from the uncoded book, that would be a U, but because it's from the coded book, it is a C for coded. And that's it. Now I have my Pantone, or my spot color, and I've converted that Pantone color or spot color into a process color. So now it's just CMYK. So I hope this helps understand how we can actually set up different inks in our different colors for, you know, certain logos or branding in general, and how to quickly convert or add Pantone colors, spot colors, and also convert them to CMYK.